Welcome back to the GCN Racing News Show. Coming up this week, are cycling contracts really worth anything? This week in the world of racing, we learned that track sprinters are still absolute machines.
And look at Richardson going straight round him. Oh my word, this is a turn up for the books. Richardson is absolutely killing his rival here. It's turned on its head. It's domination. Look out, world. Matthew Richardson is on another level.
But they're also quite good at standing still. Triple track stand, everyone. You don't see that very often. And finally, we learnt that Pogačar isn't going to quit the day job anytime soon. On to that main talking point now, and whether pro contracts are worth the paper they are written on. Maxim Van Gils is the latest to apparently cut ties mid-contract with his current team, Lotto DSTNY, despite having signed a contract extension with them in March of this year. Rumours are suggesting that his destination is Red Bull Bora-Hansgrohe, but the case is far from clear-cut and could have big ramifications for riders and teams moving forward. As I said, Van Gils signed a contract extension back in March, but has since gone on to land some big-ticket results, bolstering his value as a rider considerably. Third at Flèche, fourth at Liège, and a win at Eschborn-Frankfurt, to name a few. Changes in European law appear to mean a rider can end their contract like any other worker. So technically, it appears it's within Van Gils' right to seek a different team or employment, despite the ramifications and the contract he signed with Lotto. Incidentally, his agent is Alex Carrera, the same man who managed to get Kian Uijtdebroeks out of his contract with Bora and moved to Visma Leasebike. Are cycling contracts worthless then, if it is so easy to wriggle out of one? I'd argue no, but moves like this do point to cycling moving closer potentially to the likes of football. Most football contracts are 3 to 5 years in length, with high release or buyout clauses in the event of transfers. With increasing cases such as Van Gils, especially looking at Evenepoel's near move during the year, you do wonder if the mechanics of rider-team contracts might be shifting towards something like this. Or perhaps if contracts will change to guard against moves like this. Something that has arguably already happened if you look at the 200 million buyout clause in Pogačar's contract, an astronomical number, yet PSG paid 2 million more than this to activate Neymar's buyout clause in a move from FC Barcelona in 2017. Plus, just look at the amount of riders getting signed on long, multi-year contracts. A contract is still a binding agreement, and it isn't worthless, not in the arena in which it's written. Riders and teams are governed by the UCI rules if they want to play the game, and the game is UCI races. And there was a big overhaul of rider transfer rules during the year by the UCI. Changes that came following that Uijtdebroeks contract situation to strengthen a pro contract's terms. Now, a team looking to sign a contracted rider must inform the rider's current team of such intention before entering into discussion related to the envisaged contract with the rider. A contract can be signed with the new team only after all agree. Rider, old and new team, and the UCI has proof of termination of the old contract. This is called a tripartite agreement. There is also a database managed by the UCI to keep track of all contracts and their length, plus any linked agents. If it's deemed that a rider or team broke these conditions, then both are liable to pay that rider's leftover salary and 3 months' worth of their salary as a fine. The poaching team will also get a ban of registering new riders for 12 months, which is pretty crippling, and the rider will face a 3-month suspension and their agent will be fined and suspended too. But to avoid a clash with that European employment law I mentioned earlier, it seems that riders can potentially avoid punishment if they change teams without a salary increase. Of course, there is nothing stopping that rider gaining a personal sponsorship from a linked sponsor to a team to boost that salary. And it's also worth remembering in all of this that transfer fees are against UCI regulations too, which make things even more confusing. UCI regulations state on the expiry of the term of the contract, the rider is free to leave the team and join another team. All transfer payment systems are prohibited. So how on earth can a rider get out of their contract with all this in place if the current team wants to keep them? I reached out to a cycling agent and they commented actually about how they weren't happy with how this situation was unfolding for a number of reasons. One, the agent's actions didn't represent the profession as a whole, and the breaking of trust between rider and team was pretty unsettling. When the contract with Lotto was signed, it was in good faith, provided security early in the season, and to jump ship now when things are going better than expected didn't sit right. It also appears that some form of compensation factors into an agreement for a rider leaving a team, though, for all this to go through. So it's different to a transfer fee, which I'm not too sure about. I guess a transfer fee would be based on the rider's current perceived value, whereas compensation would be based mostly on the terms of the broken contract payable by the rider and not the team. Would making transfer fees a thing make these sorts of situations clearer? Potentially, but at the same time, smaller budget teams may struggle to sign key riders and could cause a whole new Pandora's box of issues to open. There's obviously a chink, though, in a pro cycling contract that some are looking to exploit, and we'll keep an eye on how this develops to see if it causes any further ripples in the pro cycling landscape. Let me know what you think, though, and if we should delve into this topic further on the channel. A few races to report on from the weekend now, and don't forget you can watch a full season of bike racing live on Discovery Plus and Max. On Saturday, Iserbyt took his third win at the exact cross in Kortrijk, taking the win by 19 seconds over Niels van der Put and Michael van Torenhout. World champ Fem van Empel took victory in the women's race quite comfortably too. She returned to racing following a 3-week training camp and won by 47 seconds over Marlon Norbert Ribeiro and Inge van der Heijden, a further 12 seconds back. At Sunday's World Cup in Antwerp, Iserbyt would again take the victory, making it 2 from 2 for the weekend. This time he beat Laurens Sweeck to second and Van Torenhout coming in third once more. And it was a repeat in the women's race too. Fem van Empel doubling up to win and ride solo to the finish on the final 4 laps. Lucinda Brandt would finish second, 31 seconds back, and Maria Schreiber third, 1 minute 11 seconds in arrears. On the track, the UCI Track Champions League kicked off in Paris, back at the Olympic Velodrome too. Archbold, Bibic, Finucane and Richardson were all winners on the night. Katie Archbold won both women's scratch and elimination races to top the endurance standings, whilst Matthew Richardson also kick-started his GB team representation, claiming maximum points in the sprint and keirin. The sprint final in particular was impressive. It is not often that world champion Harry Leveresen is beaten, let alone by this distance. Emma Finucane also topped the sprint standings, taking a win in the sprint and second place in the keirin, which was won via a stunning attack from Alina Leshenko. Defending champion Ellis Andrews was knocked out in the semi-finals of the sprint, so has some ground to make up in the standings already. In the men's endurance competition, Canadian Dylan Bibic bucked the GB winning trend, taking the leader's jersey after the night due to a win in the scratch race and a 4th place in the elimination. The league continues this weekend over in Apeldoorn with 4 more rounds left to decide overall winners. Over to transfer news now, and Marta Cavalli has signed with DSM Firmenich Post NL. She moves over from FDJ Suez on a 3-year contract. Speaking of Team DSM, actually, they are rumoured to be changing bike sponsors from Scott to Lapierre. Interestingly, part of the rumour as to why Lapierre is coming on board is due to the fact that parent company Assel is running at a loss and is looking to offload surplus stock. One great way to do all that and show off the bikes on the biggest stage possible: sponsor a cycling team. Unfortunately, Costa Rican Andrey Amador retires. He hasn't raced since May after being hit by a truck and appears he has struggled to find a way back from injuries he sustained. He did have 1 year left to run at EF Education Easy Post, but in an announcement on his Instagram page, decided he needed to prioritise his health over continuing racing. Such a quality rider and a real gent too, actually, with a stage at the Giro d'Italia amongst his best results. Last up, the early pro calendar is potentially taking a hit next year, with the Tour of Colombia looking doubtful due to budget concerns and the Volta Valencia uncertain too after recent devastating flood and storm damage in the area. If those races are lost, it would mean only the French Etoile de Bessèges and the Herald Sun Tour would be taking place during that period in what is a key build-up race block into the opening classics. Fingers crossed we hear some good news and those races can potentially be saved. Right then, that's all we've got time for this week. Thank you for watching, as always, and we'll catch you on the next one.